everyone. You're tuned in to the Sanofi Biogenius Canada live forum. My name is Anne Ramsey, and I'm the Communications Coordinator at Partners in Research and your host for today. It's really exciting to be a part of this live forum. I can't wait to get to some of the questions we've got. So we organized this SBC live forum to answer some questions reporters frequently ask about what it's like to participate in the SBC competition and to share how students and supporters can get involved. Also, as part of our live forum today, we're officially unveiling our cool new look and kicking off the 2015 competition year. In honor of its 22nd year, the program has been renamed Sanofi Biogenius Canada, and we've got a refreshed website too, which you can check out at biogenius.ca. Some of the talk about today include what it's like to work in a university laboratory, how the SBC competition can help students' education and career paths, and we'll also get to some advice from some of the past participants and regional coordinators. If you have a question about the SBC competition, you can tweet it to us using the AskSBC hashtag. And if there's room in your tweet, you can include your name and city so that we can give you a shout out today. I'll be monitoring Twitter. So we'll get to some of those questions shortly. But first, after my rather long introduction there, let's get to know our panel. So first we have Jessie MacAlpine joining us today. Jessie is an SBC competition alumna, and now as a student at the University of Toronto, she also participated as a national judge last year. So welcome, Jessie, and thank you for joining our panel today.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Jessie, and I'm currently at the University of Toronto Science. I competed with Sanofi between the years of 2009 and 2012 with 4 different projects. So I've definitely been involved.
Excellent. It's great to have you here today, Jessie. Next, we have Élodie Bouchard, who's a regional coordinator in Quebec. Welcome, Élodie.
Hi, my name is Élodie. It's my 4th year as the regional coordinator for the Quebec region. I am also a student pursuing graduate studies in sociology at Université de Montréal, and I am there to join the SBC challenge.
Great, thank you very much, Élodie. And next we have Isabelle Labeca-Gordon, who is also an SBC alumna, and she also volunteered with us last year at the National Awards evening. Welcome, Isabelle.
Yes. Hello, I'm Isabelle. I'm actually a university student, 2nd year at the University of Ottawa, studying biopharmaceutical sciences. I competed in the SBC Challenge in 2013, and I'm quite the
Great, thank you very much. And lastly, we have Kayoe Stewart joining us, who's a regional coordinator for the Atlantic region.
Yeah, well, hello everybody. I'm Kayoe. I work for an organization called Science East here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and we have been coordinating the SBC program here in our region for over 10 years now. And I've been the regional coordinator for, I guess this is my 6th year, I think. I'm actually responsible for what we call the Atlantic region. And the Atlantic region is made up of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, and Newfoundland. So all 4 Atlantic provinces compete together in our region specifically.
Great, thank you so much for joining us today as well, Kayoe. So now that we know everyone, let's get right into some questions. As you know, Sanofi Biogenius Canada is a national biotechnology research competition open to high school and CEGEP students across the country. So first, why do you think high school students should take the opportunity to participate in the Sanofi Biogenius Canada competition?
Was that a question for
Sorry,
me?
was that directed at me?
Yeah, just starting off with Jessie, why do you think high school students should take the opportunity to participate in the competition?
Sure. As a participant myself, I can definitely speak to how great it is to be able to have that exposure at the high school level to actual fundamental research. And not only is it a great opportunity to let you know if you enjoy science, but it's also a great way to begin exploring multiple fields before you have to decide exactly where you want to study. And besides that, it's also a really, really great way to develop all kinds of skills which are great across disciplines, like public speaking, writing proposals, and being involved with the judging process, which really, really helps you even if you don't go on to pursue science later on. Plus, it's really fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. The Canada competition has helped almost 5,000 young Canadians pursue their real-world, cutting-edge scientific research projects, and as you mentioned, has been the launchpad to future studies and careers in biotechnology, but like you said, is also a really great experience even if you don't end up pursuing science. Great. So I'll go to Élodie next. In your experience, what positive effects can the SBC competition have on a student's educational path?
Yeah, well, there are actually a lot of positive effects that I would mention that by allowing participants to work in labs, the SBC helps perceive higher education as being more accessible, and students are directly confronted to what the academic field requires, particularly in terms of ability to manage time and stress and to work on team projects also. And what is for me the most outstanding is that the SPC allows students to develop self-confidence, essential in the development of critical thinking that in research communities. And also what is particularly interesting and motivating for young high school and college students is to be able to develop more practical knowledge and apply directly in the lab the academic subject learned in the classroom. So I think it's very important for that. And to conclude, I would say that the most important fact that the research experiences highly valued in the academic community can enable students to have greater access throughout his academic career. So yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, so to your point, what distinguishes SBC from other science fairs and competitions is that it's a real life experience for the participants who are able to pursue their research in real labs with mentors from local research institutions. And through this participation, they're given access to that network that can extend far beyond the high school classroom. So thank you very much. Let's go to Isabelle. Hear about what do you think was your best or most rewarding experience participating in the SBC competition?
So my most rewarding experience would definitely be working in the lab. You know, you take the time to, get your own idea, and when you have that tangible result, it, again, like how Élodie said, it gives you such a confidence, and that's invaluable going into post-secondary education or even your path outside of high school. Just even working in the lab gives you so many connections, so many practical skills. You take so much from that experience, and it's very rare to have that experience. So again, I honestly treasure having that experience. Yeah.
Awesome, that's great to hear. Thanks, Isabelle. So Kayoe, maybe it's a no-brainer, but from your perspective as a regional coordinator, why do you think high school students should take the opportunity to participate in the SBC competition?
Well, we are actually involved in everything science related, science education related here in the province. And one thing is science fairs, and I found in my experience that there are a lot of students that have been participating in science fairs for many years. And when you get up to grade 10, 11, 12, you know, you're kind of looking for a way to sort of, I guess, put it up to the next level, right? You want to go to that next level. And the SBC is an excellent opportunity, excellent way to sort of, you know, make what you're doing a little bit more advanced, a little bit more engaging, I guess, for yourself. And so I find a lot of students actually approaching me saying, you know, what is this program? Can you tell me a little bit more? I'm just sort of, I've been doing science fairs for many years now and just want to do something a little bit more meaningful, I guess, and maybe a bit more advanced, a bit more challenging for myself. So it's an excellent opportunity that way. It also is, and a lot of us have already said this, but it's an excellent way to develop connections, contacts in the biotech sector, which, you know, help you after graduation, making those connections actually, you know, further your own sort of academic career once you graduate from high school too.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing your perspective, Kayoe. Let's go to a question from Twitter. Somebody would like to know, where do you get your ideas for a project and how do you put it all together for your proposal? So maybe I'll start with the alumni first. Maybe Jessie, could you start and just tell us, you know, where did you get
Yeah, sure. So I've been involved with the science fair program since I was 12, and specifically I did Sanofi 4 times. And a lot of the times it is really, really challenging to think of an idea. But what I found was the most helpful is really just to keep on track of recent scientific discoveries. So I would read a lot of magazines and newspaper articles like Scientific American, to try and keep on top of just at the base level different discoveries that are being made. And I would go look for more primary research articles to try and learn a little bit more about that area that I'm interested in. And then through that process, a lot of the times I would sit there and I would write down questions that I would have. And with those questions, a lot of the times, many of them have been answered, and you can find that through your literature searching. But a lot of the time, some of those questions haven't been answered. And then for my projects, I would often develop an experiment based off of several of those questions that I had asked. And I always really, really enjoyed the search to try and find that information. So that would be probably the advice I would give.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. What about you, Isabelle? How did you come up with your project idea?
Sure. Mine definitely did not come easy. It is quite a daunting task. I know you see these projects and they are amazing, great ideas. And honestly, you just need to grab inspiration from your environment. You know, you can read up on articles, or even if you or someone in your family is, whatever piques your interest and what motivates you to actually go do the research, that's your ticket. That's how you know I should be doing this, because you're interested enough to look it up. After that, it comes down to doing the research and figuring out where you can help. And don't be scared if your research takes a different turn. Like, I honestly had a completely different idea on what I wanted my research to be. But again, my results, granted, I had guidance but you work with what you get, and don't be so caught up in I need to get this answer. Just, you know, have a goal and do your best and ride with the waves, and honestly, you will get results.
Yeah, that's some really good advice from both of you. Thanks. What about from the regional coordinators? Like, are you very involved in helping the students with their project ideas, or is it sort of already determined once they apply to you?
Well, I know from my perspective, it's a mix of different situations, I guess. they get a lot of what we've already heard, where lots of students, they go through that process where they think about what their interests are. They think of questions that they'd like to have answered based on what they've read and what they've seen. And so you get that going on, but a lot of times it's sort of something where that process starts a little bit. And from my perspective, what ends up happening is that, I'm the regional coordinator. I'm also someone who has connections that they might not have. And so, it's helping them sort of narrow down what their project focus is and that kind of thing initially, by connecting them with certain people that can help them with that. But we're right so far. It's something where you have to find what you're passionate about, and also not to be worried about it changing as time goes on, because that's a very important part of science, is that, that you are expecting to find might not actually come, and it might be something that transforms into something completely different. And that's the cool part about science, the really interesting and engaging part that you have to be sort of open to, especially in something like this, because it's pretty, this is the real world, really. The SBC mirrors the real world.
Great, yeah. So on that note, going back to Jessie, maybe, can you tell us a little bit more about your project? I know you competed in across 4 years, so changed quite a bit. So did you have a favorite project or one that you're especially proud of?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I love them all for different reasons, but I think the one I enjoyed the most, because it took me the farthest and I'm still working with it, I'm still really, really passionate about it, was the development of a novel anti-malarial drug that's actually 1 million times cheaper than the next leading treatment. And what's really awesome is that it's actually produced from a compound that's already readily available in these countries, which makes it a very accessible and inexpensive alternative.
Wow, yeah, that is really inspiring to hear about how that project grew from your SBC competition experience. Did you have any surprises along the way as you were working on that? Like, what surprised you the most, I guess?
Honestly, science is just always surprises, but I guess academically, one of the biggest surprises was that because it's like a fat, it's a lipid compound. I assume that for it to be in these blood samples, it would have to be dissolved in a special type of compound, so then the blood could take it up. But it turned out that it was actually more effective without that compound, and when it was just the fat on its own, which I thought was really, really interesting. And then it made more sense as I looked into it, but that was a huge surprise. And then also just every day in the lab, you're always just like, what? And then you look into it.
Cool. And what about you, Isabelle? What did you end up studying and working on it?
Pardon me, so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was just wondering if you could tell us a bit more about your SBC competition project, and maybe share with us what surprised you the most about that experience.
Definitely. So for my SVC project, I actually found that some flavonols in green tea actually help prevent cystitis, which is a very common infection of the bladder and the urethra, even in children, and being used to have some very serious side effects. And so I really wanted a holistic option. So, I found that at very low concentrations, actually, that green tea actually does help prevent such an infection. In addition to that, what surprised me was I was actually, in the beginning, again, like how we spoke about ideas taking a turn, I was trying to, prove the opposite. So, there that goes, a couple surprises in the lab.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go to the regional coordinators. Maybe we'll start with Élodie. Could you, as a regional coordinator, tell us a bit more about your experience in the SBC competition, and maybe attached to that, what's the most rewarding part for you?
Oh, yeah. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I begin my 4th year as the regional coordinator of the SBC in the Quebec region, and it's always been for me an enriching and rewarding. Well, my role is to ensure the smooth running of the competition on all fronts. So I am a resource person for both teachers and students. I try also to coach them the best I can and give them access to the maximum resources possible to assist them in achieving their research, even when needed, by providing some moral support. So yeah, the most rewarding is for me to learn from these students that are, and they seem not to have any barrier. So it's for me really enriching, and that's what I think is the most rewarding. And also the fact that I think we in the SBCC democratize the science. I don't know if it's a word in English, but it's making the science research field really more accessible, and it gives students, young students, to have experience in the field, and is very their future in the academic community.
Great, thanks. And Kayoe, how about you? What is the most rewarding part of being a regional coordinator?
Well, I know, again, from my perspective, I mentioned earlier, the Atlantic region is more than just New Brunswick. So we have 4 provinces that kind of come together. And for me, the best part, as far as my experience goes, is the regional competition that we have every year here in New Brunswick, in Sackville, New Brunswick. And the interesting part about that is that because we have 4 provinces, made up of various students that have, worked on their projects, what happens at the end of our sort of year and leading up to the regional competition is that we all sort of come together. And that's really a great opportunity, from my perspective, but also from the perspective of all of the participants, all the students, the teacher supervisors that accompany them, and sometimes mentors that have participated. Just to have all of those students from various provinces all coming together, getting to meet, interact, all these people that have similar interests, similar goals, and that kind of thing, getting to meet. And the interesting thing is that because our competition includes Newfoundland, those students actually get flown to Moncton, and then they drive to Sackville, where they compete, and then just fly right back to their home. And so it's really interesting. It's kind of this quick sort of experience for them, from my perspective, just to see them all come together and really, like Élodie was saying, to see their projects and to learn from them. We always tell them that they're the experts, right? Some of these students have, like you've heard before, like with the other girls, that they've been doing this for a while through science fairs and things like that, and it is a good sort of tool to practice public speaking and things like that. But we always remind them that they're the experts. They know their topic or their research inside and out, and it's, again, that sort of shows when they know a lot about it. So it's rewarding that way too, I find.
Awesome, thank you. So I just want to take a moment to remind those who are watching the live stream that you can tweet your questions about the competition or anything related to Sanofi Biogenius Canada to the hashtag AskSBC. Okay, so I've got a question now for Isabelle. In your opinion, what was it about your experience and that switched your educational path or your career aspirations. Was there any sort of changing point for you?
Most definitely. To be honest, it was working in the lab. Effectively, as I mentioned earlier, I'm studying biopharmaceutical sciences, and that the science competition was in fact the key that unlocked this whole new world to me that honestly I'm addicted to. So you can definitely say that this whole competition is kind of molded who I am today.
Thanks. And what about you, Jessie? Was there a turning point for you in your experience in the competition?
Yeah, I think so.
I
mean, oh, sorry, continue.
I was just going to ask, or maybe you always knew you wanted to pursue scientific research?
Yeah, I was going to say, I have, and that was the answer, that I have honestly loved science for just about as long as I can remember. And I've always really, really enjoyed pursuing research in my spare time. But one of the things that Sanofi really helped me realize was just exactly how science research is conducted in today's society. And I think that was really, really useful in helping me guide to exactly which discipline I wanted to pursue. Because I've been a little bit all over the map in the subjects I've been interested in within science. And Sanofi really helped me realize exactly where my passions lie, which has been really, really helpful now that I'm in university, because it sort of helped me all understand what sort of course get involved in any other courses. So that's what's been awesome.
Great. And so sort of on that note, I have a question for the regional coordinators. How do you find the mentors and laboratories for the students? And what should students expect when they're working in the lab? Maybe we'll start with Élodie first.
Yeah, well, we find mentors in, it depends on the project. We look in the hospitals, everywhere where we can find mentors that are adapted to the projects that are participating in the competition. And what was the other question?
What should students expect when they're working in a laboratory?
Well, a lot of work, for sure, but also great relations with the students and the mentors in the lab. And I think this is the most important thing. They learn to work in collaboration with other scientific, and yeah. So I think that's what they are. They have to expect.
Okay, great. So we just have a question that came in on Twitter. I'll direct it to Kayoe as it sort of relates to this previous question. How much time should a student expect to dedicate to participation in the SBC competition?
Well, that's a really good question too, because it's a very common question that comes up to us from students and also from mentors, new mentors that you're approaching to, request to participate as well. And what we usually say is that, it obviously depends on the project, but what we usually say is between the months of November to March and even April, on average, it's usually about 10 hours, I guess. And, that's an average. It might be a bit more than that depending on the project. It might be a bit less, or it might be a lot less than that. It really just depends on the project. But on average, the commitment really is, around 10 hours average. Yeah.
Okay. To the alumni now, maybe Isabelle, did you find it was about 10 hours? Like, how were you able to balance your participation in the competition with everything else?
I personally did spend quite a bit of time in the lab, so it's quite time consuming. Though I will say, when you're passionate about something, again, you make the time. This is an opportunity that is so valuable and will honestly carry on through even past high school. So I would very, very much encourage all high school students considering to enter in the SBC to really just time manage, and because you can do it, you can really do it, and it'll be extremely rewarding. It's a lot of time, but you can definitely do it.
Great. Maybe on that, let's start maybe sharing some advice for people or students who are interested in applying and participating in the 2015 competition. I'll go to Jessie first. Maybe what advice, based on your experience, would you share with students?
I mean, kind of like what I was saying before, the first thing to do is to kind of understand where your interests in science lie. And then one of the best next steps is, if there's a university close to where you live, maybe look through the faculty listings and see if the lab is in the research area you're interested in. And sometimes that can already be a great segue, even before a regional coordinator, or can help set you up with a mentor. Sometimes if you can even start looking at potential mentors beforehand, that can help get you ready to focus on the research, maybe start developing some questions or potential experimental designs. And then you could maybe even try and go visit those laboratories, or just get a tour to kind of, as the first segue into seeing what goes in a laboratory.
Great. And what about you? What sort of advice would you pass on to students who are interested in applying, or once they're in the competition?
Is it for me?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. From a RC perspective, I would say be kind to people that are supporting your project, because they are making it possible too. And trust you are already making a lot of people proud. So yeah, that's what I would say to a future participant.
Oh, very good. And Isabelle, you sort of already touched on the idea of time management, but was there any sort of other advice you'd add on to that for students?
Yeah, most definitely. I have two tips. Firstly is to use all your resources. So use Google Scholar, go to your library, grab as much information, and because in the end it will help you. And also have confidence in yourself. As previously mentioned, you are the expert in your own project, so really give it your best shot, because you can do great things.
Great. And Kayoe, how about you? What sort of advice in your 6 years as regional coordinator would you want to pass on to students?
Well, a few things, I guess, that have already been mentioned before, but it's obviously because they are key. But one of the big things for me that I was thinking about when I was asked this question is communication is key. And that means communication with your mentor, with your teacher supervisor, with your regional coordinator, just, staying in communication with these people, because they are there for you. And so if you are running into any difficulties, don't be afraid to let certain people know, especially, your regional coordinator and things like that, because those people can be there to help you through this process. And what else has been mentioned, before in this time management. And time management is very important. The SBC is a demanding commitment. You're making this huge commitment. You have to make sure that you stay on top of things, because there are deadlines, and that kind of thing. But again, like everybody said through this whole conversation, even though there's a commitment there, it is very, very, very rewarding.
Great. And so a question maybe for people who aren't students, but maybe want to support a regional competition, is anyone involved in that respect?
So for mentors, for example, a good example of that kind of thing is the case of a mentor. A lot of times when we are asking mentors to participate or to be involved and to work with a student, a lot of times mentors are kind of hesitant because, they think, well, a commitment and this kind of thing. But again, it's very rewarding for them. And also, it allows them to have someone else in their lab to conduct some. It's for the mentor. From the mentor's perspective, it's a huge reward. As far as this goes, a lot of times mentors, when all of a sudden they'll realize that this kind of thing, when you participate in something like this, it's a long-term thing. These students that are participating will eventually, work to, work in this field and perpetuate this, the momentum that's happening in your specific field as well. And so, having these students along in this process is rewarding for you and your field in the long run as well.
Great. So, Élodie, similar question for you. How do you sort of get support regionally for your competition with mentors, or do you have other types of volunteer positions?
Well, I get a lot of help from previous winners of the competition or previous participants. So we are going into the schools to talk about their project and how they live the experience. So yeah, I would say that this is a great help because they are there for the students. They are there to speak about what it means as a mentor to participate, as a professor to participate, and as a student also. So yeah, that's a great support. Also, the professor of the schools, they are always there to do the connection between the students and DRC, and they are very a great resource and for the students also. So yeah, it would not be possible. Without the professor. Sorry. And the judges are very important too. They are very implicated in the SBC competition in the Quebec region. Some of them are there for about 3 or 4 years. So yeah, they are helping a lot, finding mentors and giving great advice for the students on their project.
Great. So maybe on the note of judges, we just had a question come in on Twitter that I'll go to Jessie with first. The question is, what is it like to present to an evaluation committee or judges?
I mean, as always, it is nerve-wracking at first because you don't know exactly what to expect. But I think it's really, really important to remember that the judges are sometimes just as nervous as you are. I've been on both sides, presenting and being a judge. And a lot of the time when a student walks in to present to us, I think it was already mentioned that you really are the expert of your project. And it's really, really difficult for judges to be able to completely understand it in such a short amount of time. So really try not to be nervous no matter how hard it is. But a lot of the times it's more of a discussion. So because you're the master of your project, you are going to be able to answer the questions better than anyone else. And remembering that and trying to stay confident will really help you to project well and present well, because that confidence always translates well.
Great. And Isabelle, I saw you nodding there. Did you have anything else to add about your experience presenting to the judges?
Well, honestly, I second everything that Jessie said. She was perfectly on point. Yeah, just remembering the key points of your presentation. You are the expert, And again, too, don't be, I know it can be kind of daunting, but don't be scared because, again, you engage in conversation with the judges a lot of the time. And even if there's constructive, again, it's constructive and you can actually take a lot from their comments.
Great. Well, we're coming to the end of our time for today's live forum. I'd like to thank you all so very much for joining the SBC panel today to talk about your SBC experiences and answer some of the most frequently answered questions we get. And thank you to everyone who watched the live stream and tweeted in their questions. From mentorships and lab work and where the SBC can help you, I hope everyone's feeling inspired to participate in the SBC competition this year. We're definitely looking forward to seeing some of the applications start to come in. And I just want to note that you can check the Biogenius website, biogenius.ca, to find more information on your specific region and application deadlines as they vary from region to region. So thank you all again very, very much. And have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.